Hello and welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is American Ben. As Detective Joe Miller squirmed restless in his seat aboard a Belt Transit ferry venturing into what was for him the unknown, a kindly man, seemingly of a higher aura, took it upon himself, as was his duty before his creator, to help old Joe calm his nerves. The believer's mind was at peace, in contrast to the heathen's in his presence. Why? Well, the former's consciousness was operating on a higher plane, preparing itself for a great journey through the void, to find despairing souls beyond the reach of Earth's sun. Yes, this man was going on a special voyage, one that would require a special ship, with the capabilities beyond that of even the advanced starships known to man at this, the onset of the human extrasolar era. I talk of a vessel that poets through the ages have called so many different things. The Nauvoo, the Behemoth, Medina Station, God's Thumbtack. It was a ship that ran not on fuel, but on faith. Okay, it ran on fuel. I got a little carried away, but still, fuel alone is not enough to transport life across light years. You also need xeno-obliterating lasers as well. But anyway, it's time to explain the features of this gargantuan vessel, the very word of God herself encapsulated in bulkhead, so that the sounds of the gospel might find sinful listeners in alien worlds far away. When we are first introduced to the ship, it's the LDSS Nauvoo, under construction at Tycho Station. It is the hopes and dreams of the Mormons embodied in a massive spaceship. The 2,460 meter long, 960 meter wide ship was built with the intention of taking missionaries beyond the reaches of where great believers had ever gone before. To the Tau Ceti system, where under a new sun the progeny of the thousands of Mormons aboard would seed their new existence with life, something that Mormons do well. And this is the most important thing to know about the Nauvoo. It was a ship of dreamers, of believers, of polyamorous lovers that can open their hearts not just to multiple wives, but to an array of planetary systems as well. Which is why when the Belters stole it to make it their War Titan, it didn't exactly make for the perfect fit, which is something I think you'll come to see in this video. Starting from the outside, the Nauvoo is built around a large centrifugal drum which, using thrusters placed throughout the hull of the ship, can be spun while the ship isn't under thrust to create gravity amenable to human life. Protruding from the bow of the ship is a spire upon which the Mormon angel Moroni sits watch in complement to the ship's radar systems. In the Mormon faith, Moroni is believed to have been the guardian of the golden plates from which Joseph Smith attained the source material for the Book of Mormon. Anyway, on the stern of the ship, one can see the 8 G4000 series Epstein drives that accelerate the ship's 100 million plus tons. However, given that the ship was designed to be a colony ship with a very singular mission, it wasn't built with any directional or maneuverability thrusters. Instead, when it first disengaged from Tycho Station, hundreds of Tycho manufacturing accelerator tugs, basically thruster drones, attached themselves all over the ship in order to turn it. So you can already begin to see why this ship wasn't exactly the best choice for a warship. But the Belters were beggars, so they couldn't be choosers. Nonetheless, after the Belters salvaged the ship and renamed it the OPAS Behemoth, part of the dreadnought refit they did on the vessel included permanently attaching 370 of these accelerator tugs so that the ship could be more readily maneuvered anywhere in space. Not only was the ship originally built with a singular journey in mind, but it also wasn't built with combat in mind either. The ship erred on the side of a build that could sustain human life, but you can't really sustain life without weapons. Anyway, during the ship's refit into the Behemoth, the Belters quickly fixed this situation. They added 6 heavy railguns on the bow, 6 external torpedo bays, and 170 point defense cannons mounted throughout the ship. That said, the refit didn't exactly transform the Behemoth into a fully capable warship. Its structure just wasn't built for battle. Often when the crew attempts to use its weapon systems, the result is some sort of power malfunction, such as when Captain Kamina Drummer attempted to launch a torpedo at the Rocinante, a move that temporarily caused the stock market to dip because of the speculated hit that the coffee industry would take given the Rossi's destruction. Additionally, the Behemoth refit did not include internal mechanisms for reloading the ship's torpedo tubes, meaning that the crew must use automated drones to load the tubes with new missiles, not a very efficient process for keeping the ship armed. The ship did, from its initial construction, have a comm laser that was used for interstellar communications, a laser that could, from the start, be used to inflict damage on targets. And while in the ring space for the first time, interim Captain Clyce Ashford directed the crew to modify the comm laser into a more powerful directed energy weapon. And while this refit required fairly quick and easy modifications, it drew a tremendous amount of power directly from the reactor and wasn't exactly a safe process. One engineer ended up getting electrocuted, actually. And to the YouTube censors out there, don't worry, he ended up being just fine. Oh, and when fired, the powered-up laser missed its target anyway, most likely from having been misaligned following the ring station decreasing the speed limit in the ring space. Beyond the comm laser, we see other weapons improvisation from the Behemoth's crew due to the ship's combat shortcomings, such as when they use one of their skiffs, among the few dozen or so the ship carries, to detonate a nuclear device around the ring station. Broke-ass. That's how I would best describe the weapon systems of the Behemoth. What the ship lacks in combat capabilities, it makes up for in size though, which I suppose just makes it a giant piñata to its enemies, but the Behemoth does have the capacity to hold 8 medium-sized spacecraft on its aft docks. These docks are external to the ship, which makes coming and going from them a rather simple task. Venturing inside of the Behemoth, size and space is the first thing you'll notice as well. Actually, the giant hollow drum seems rather wasteful, but I suppose engineers might disagree with that. The second thing you'll notice is people. Lots of people. This isn't a one mechanic, one engineer affair. The ship requires about 4,000 crew to operate and comfortably carries about 7,000 people overall. The Behemoth's facilities provide its lifetime inhabitants with an experience as close as can possibly be achieved to terrestrial life, and probably an even better experience than life in the belt while traveling through space. 10 levels of environmental engineering, crew quarters, schools, wastewater treatment, machine shops, forges, and of course a host of control rooms fill out the many different sections of the vessel. All of these different areas across the 2-kilometer long, 1-kilometer high landscape can be accessed via one of a series of elevators in the ship that run on tracks along the ship's keel or up and down shafts or ladders in the ship. The physics and other workings of these elevators has been the subject of some debate, as I've seen, and there isn't really much canonical information about them out there. So if one of you out there knows about this kind of stuff and wants to write up an in-depth comment theorizing how these elevators work and how the layout of their tracks work or their shafts work, please do so and I will pin your comment and we can build out a thread from there to complement this video. Anyway, beyond the people elevators, there's also a machine elevator that the Mormons had installed for moving heavy farming machinery to different levels of the ship. Presumably this elevator is a lot more limited in where it can go compared to the ones designed just for people. Of course, in case you get pancaked in between this industrial farming equipment on board, there's a med bay that contains all the modern technology required for tending to injuries, but I must say the med bay we see in the Behemoth is nowhere near as nice as the one in the Rocinante. Though I suspect that the one we saw was not the only med bay in the ship. That said, we should never use MCRN ships as a standard. They're high class. We do see some sort of additional 6/medical bay following the ring station slowdown, but this looked to me like a converted rather than dedicated treatment area. The ship also has a brig with at least a dozen holding cells, but I'm pretty sure this area was originally intended for housing livestock of some sort. I don't really think the Mormons expected to be incarcerating any of their adherents on board. And then there are also security lockers throughout the ship that hold weapons, armor, and other supplies in them. Though again, not sure this was the original intention of the Mormons. As far as control of the ship goes, there's a control room from which the reactor can be accessed, though not easily as it seems. And then of course there's the ship's bridge, from which all of the sausage is made. Despite the enormous size of the ship, the bridge is actually pretty standard compared with other ships of the time and is relatively compact. The room is circular in line with the cylindrical spinning nature of the ship, and as with the Rocinante, everything, and I mean everything on the ship, works out from the center table console. Given the circular layout of the room with the crew surrounding the center console, it's very easy for the captain to issue orders to any of the crew in the bridge without having to move much at all. There is a sort of deck that actually overlooks the room that the commanding officers sometimes take advantage of for running the ship's operations as well, or use to stare menacingly down at people below. But for the most part, that center console is the control hub of the ship, and its software is integrated with just about every facet of the ship inside to out. The table can be used to engage in long-range video communication, review security footage, work the ship's weapon systems, monitor the shuttles docked on the ship, compose animations of radar scans, and so on. Credit to the Belter engineers at Tycho, they really did a good job making this ship intuitive. I imagine someone could learn how to operate the ship without so much as picking up a user's manual. I mean, there's literally big touchscreen buttons that say things like detonate. You can't mess that up too easily. As for interacting with the bridge's center console from elsewhere in the ship, there are screens throughout the Behemoth that crew can use to interface with their commanding officers, and as is standard on any ship of the time, officers and other crew members can use hand terminals to access the ship's programs and databases remotely. After the events that led to the awakening of the Ringgate system, the Behemoth was recognized as a legitimate actor on behalf of the Belt by the Mars and Earth governments and took on a role as a custodian of the gates. Given its newfound status, the Behemoth was once again renamed, this time foregoing a standard ship name in favor of the more stately moniker Medina Station. And in line with its dignified air, the ship was refitted once more as well. The most obvious change was new wallpapering and furniture, though the Mormon farming imagery remains. The professional motif is more in line with what one might imagine a nice hotel lobby or office building would look like. I was kind of disappointed with this change. The old Behemoth was more gritty. It's like, come on, Beltalowda, you're rough rock hoppers, not douchey dusters. Nonetheless, along with the furniture came spiffy new projection technology integrated into the wall behind the console. Come on, Beltalowda, that's so the kind of thing that new money buys. So tacky. Finally, and I'm not sure if this was a new addition or we just hadn't seen it up until this point, but post-Medina Station refit, the center console contained holographic mapping technology, as we saw previously in the Rocinante. Anyway, that's the breakdown of the ship's features and various sections and whatnot. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of what it can do as the series continues, and I hope it does continue. That's what I'm trying to do here with these videos. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Comment down below, let me know what I missed and the other stuff that I mentioned, the elevators and stuff. Please do comment on that as well if you're able to. Subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell. Before I go, I know times have just been so weird this year, and I hope everyone's doing well. I really appreciate y'all. I don't care who you are, whether you're the most crazy diehard fan or you're someone who just watched our videos to critique it. You know, I feel like you guys are my community, and so I do, you know, I collectively worry about you, so I hope, you know, you guys are doing well. Let me know in the comments that you're doing okay. It makes me feel good. For now, my name is American Ben, and hang in there. I'll catch you next time. Generation Films, peace.